endurance rounds here at Monza. And the stage is set. 3 15-minute qualifying sessions lie ahead of us at this most fantastic of circuits. It's going to be quickfire. It's going to be busy. 52 cars going out to play. I'm going to marshal them. My name is Bruce Jones, along with Duotti. And John, it's a warmish warning. And as we saw yesterday, the temperature keeps rising.
It will get warmer and warmer as the day progresses, but the thing that's notable to me is, again, as we saw yesterday morning, is that very high level of humidity. Great for downforce, great for engine power. That'll be a total contrast to what we see at 3:30 when this race, 3-hour endurance event, gets underway. But that's the field lining up in the paddock waiting to get out, because this racetrack will become very busy. 3 15-minute qualifying segments, 52 cars. Control yourself. Control yourself. We saw a lot of drivers making minor errors, and then consequences of getting particularly into the gravel around Lesmo 2 and other corners, certainly at some of the chicanes. And the amount of gravel that was being chucked onto the racetrack was certainly very obvious. Hopefully we're not going to see any stoppages in any one of these 3 qualifying segments. As we look at the Audi, the Tresor Audi car, Patrese, Ferrari, and a young driver lineup with great potential. Yeah, and it's very, very quick fire, as we say. This is the car that won the previous round at the Nürburgring, the previous endurance round, and Franck Pereira will be kicking off. And if you're new to the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, qualifying is 3 15-minute sessions for the endurance round. And an aggregate time across all of those sessions is what will define the grid. And as we saw in practice and pre-qualifying, the times are super, super close around Monza. What was the record we had yesterday? Was it 46 cars covered by 1 second? I think 46, possibly 47, but it was just a phenomenal, it's unbelievable that you can get that number of cars, the diversity of the manufacturers, the diversity of the character and personalities of all the drivers. We've got 52 entries. We've got multiplied by almost by 3, because only, I think, 1 car is going to be a 2-driver lineup. Everybody else will be a 3-driver lineup. So 150 plus drivers, 52 cars. It's just massive. It's astonishing. The circuit has been resurfaced and the teams have had to learn how to handle the extra grip. But a lot of the drivers have said, oh, it's okay, we've now got gravel traps. But the annoying thing yesterday was that people were bringing them on. Imagine you're coming through the second part of the Lesmos. You come around the corner, absolutely on the edge of adhesion, and you find gravel in the track. It's going to wreck your lap. And many of those around you will be caught out, because with 52 cars, they're almost going to be nose to tail around here. And it's going to be the timing and making space, John, that's really, really going to count for a lot of these drivers achieving their maximum. They also, it will be about getting your tyre temperature into the right operational range. With the lower track and ambient temperatures, that's going to be slightly more difficult for some than for others. And on top of that is just simply finding a lap where you can get through all the 11 turns here at Monza without anybody else in your way or having to make an adjustment for another car that might be going slowly, whatever. Yeah, so it's a difficult challenge for everyone. It'll be very exciting for us in the commentary booth, and hopefully those back at home watching on television will enjoy what will be a challenge. 3 15-minute sessions, and Yannick Mettler, he's all set to go in the Get Speed Mercedes, and some of the cars not even have their wheel. In fact, looking down, the 2 Rotronic Porsches, the BMW, Lamborghinis, still not wheels. The reason they haven't got their wheels and tires on is because they're keeping them as warm as possible in the garage. Everybody is fully aware that if they put them on now, the tire temperature will fall away, the pressures will fall away, and that will inhibit any sort of potential performance you'd have. Yeah, we can work out who's going to go out early in the session. I think teams will probably split their tactics, even if they've got multiple cars. There's Jules Gounon looking on. They'll send some out early and some out late, because none of the teams want all 52 cars to be going for the fast lap at the same time. But it's going to be a game of chess. You can send the cars out when you think it's the right moment, but if a car in front slows down, a car in front has an instant, then suddenly you're backed up. And it is going to be a real balance. The first car only now just blasting out of the pit lane. And here come those wheels that you were talking about, John, with the tyres as warm as they could be. And just looking to see who's first on track. I think that might be the number 66 Tresor attempt to Audi, which is Andrei Mukazov and Max Hofer. We were talking about which cars would have had just the 2 drivers, and that is the one. Max Hofer will be doing the double, so he'll actually get 2 qualifying sessions. He'll do the second one and the third, because his teammate Andrei Mukazov out onto the circuit. But everyone else playing the waiting game. Yeah, and the waiting game is wait until the end of the 15-minute session. That's when the track's going to be probably at its peak for your individual qualifying segment. But then you've got the concern is if you go late, are you potentially... Well, the concern is if there is a red flag, for example, if somebody has gone off, will you even get a lap time is? So the tendency would be go out early and get a banker lap. And if you've got grip left and your set of tyres, your Pirelli tyres, and you think you can go quicker, then go back out again. So the simple thing of going quickly is slightly more complicated than that.
So the teams get three rolls of the dice across the 3 qualifying sessions, but they've got, the aggregate time at the end is what is really going to count. We've also got the 4 classes. Of course, all the crews. Mirko Bortolotti is going to be one of the front runners for sure in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini as he comes out of the pit lane. But for the crews, it really is a case of giving their drivers space on the track. We were talking about, get this again, I'm just going to say it, 46 cars within a second of the fastest time in one of the sessions yesterday. A blink of an eye, a slip, a slide, and you could tumble down many places. Even if you're in the bronze class, you want to get as high up the grid as you can, and then you can see where your class rivals are, because the nearer the front you are, of course, the more of a chance you have in the race.
I suspect that we're not going to see 46 cars covered by a second in qualifying, because it's a different challenge to the one we saw yesterday in that free practice session. So it will be about literally hanging it out as best you can. Get that one lap where you've got your tyres right in the right temperature zone. You get all your braking spots correct coming down here. It's coming into the revised first chicane. And that you can see the resurfacing that's taken place there. So Mukazov is on his way. We're getting purple sector times up for people on their outlap. Lucas Auer and the 48 Mercedes, and Mukazov has done 3rd sector. He's got a purple on that, so he's now on his flying lap as he comes down. There he is, and you see purple for now the 1st sector. He was the first car out, and therefore he's likely to be the guy who's going to get the first purple sectors in all 3 of the sectors on the lap.
And again, you can see drivers already, as they're getting heat into tyres, pushing very hard. Andrei Mukazov getting a real twitch as he was halfway through the 2nd chicane. Got it sorted, just sweeping through the first, the left Lesmos. The next corner, the next right-hander, is where so many drivers were dipping a wheel, sometimes their entire car into the gravel. You want to run out on the curves, but it's a very flat curve, and then suddenly we're into the gravel. But Mukazov pressing on. He will be laying down the first flying lap under the old circuit. He goes right now, and then he'll flip up towards the 3rd of the chicanes, the Ascari chicane.
Great camera angle between the barriers. I don't know that's going to be a remote camera. It'll not be a man camera, so it'll be on just a fixed camera shot. So we've now gone green for Mukazov, so he's now been eclipsed, and that's Lucas Auer has gone fastest now at sector 1. But again, look at the cars coming out on their opening laps, having to move around. There is Mukazov in the dark blue and black Audi, so he's going to be the first driver to compete a flying lap, and let's get a clue as to where the pace will be. Track conditions, if you get tire temperature, are ideal for fast laps.
Yeah, and in fact, he might be the only driver who gets an absolutely clear lap. No other car coming out on its outlap has interrupted him. So the time on the board, 1:50.6. That's some way off the pace. Let's see what the second lap is, because we were seeing times way quicker than that yesterday.
Well, the fastest lap we saw was just a fraction of a second above the 1:44 seconds. One was 1:45.09 something or other. Lucas Auer is the car that's probably going to eclipse that considerably.
Right, there's our number 48, the Winwood car, and he's hung back, and now he's waiting, and he's made his space in the traffic. Mind you, has no idea what's going to be emerging from the pits. Pretty much all the cars out on the track now, so busy.
So Lucas Auer had 2 purples, but obviously the time itself, the lap time, was maybe not going to be particularly quick, so he backed off coming all the way down into Parabolica. It's David Pittard right now in the 34 Aston Martin, who most likely is going to improve on. The best time is Thomas Drouet in the number 9 Mercedes, 1:47. So his time was 1:50, so he backed off.
Well, we saw him backing out to make the space. Here comes the pit bull, David Pittard, and the Walk and Horse Motorsport Aston Martin, just crossing the line now. Where is his lap going to place him? Goes into 2nd place, 1:49. Immediately that becomes 3rd because Romain Leroux moves ahead. But when the big guns get, and this is definitely the big gun, number 2 Mercedes, Lucas Stoltz, he should be challenging at the front end of the grid. The Mercedes haven't been super quick here so far this meeting.
No, we're not quite sure what the cause of that is. I think there has been a minor adjustment of BOP across some of the brands, but we don't know how. And it's hard to understand if you've got 46 cars covered by a second, how do you have an adjustment of your BOP? But anyway, Lucas Stoltz in the number 2 Get Speed Mercedes, green sector 1, green sector 2.
And clear track in front of him, so that is absolutely key. Lucas Stoltz doesn't smile so much, but he delivers every time, and then he smiles. And so many victories across the year. Very, very focused works Mercedes driver. Lovely sweep through the parabolica. You need your left-hand tyres, kissing that white line on the outside. Clear track ahead of him, so he might be able to go for a second flyer that's going to count. The target now 1 minute 47.067. Dan Arrow, the silver class leading. Mercedes is marginally quicker. It's 3 Mercedes the top. Lucas Stoltz slots into second place.
So interesting to see the times presently about around 2 seconds off the time. The best time we saw, Joel Sturm has now gone quickest in the Porsche. Lucas Auer has now eclipsed him with a time for almost half a second quicker. So 1:45.8 for Lucas Auer. That's getting into the zone of the times we were seeing primarily in this time yesterday morning. The other thing, of course, you've got to think about is that the cars are fueled for 3 15-minute qualifying segments. So they'll have whatever weight of fuel, and measured by weight rather than by volume. So as the cars go through each of these 3 qualifying sessions, the car will effectively become lighter.
Right.
And if nothing else changes, just the reduction in fuel weight will make a small difference to potential lap times. Right,
Aston Martin have hit the top. Roland LaRoue's in third place, but David Pittard has done a 1 minute 45.5. He's on top by 1/3 of a second at the moment. So Walkenhorst Motorsports smiling. Their championship leading car, number 7, has yet to put a time on the board. Matthias Drudy is in that. That's the car that vaulted to the top with victory in the Spa 24 Hours. Fran Rueda looking at his McLaren right now, and that is picking up the pace very nicely. The final sweep through the parabolica. Where will they put him? The top McLaren at the moment is Benji Goether in 19, but will that be changed? And Fran Rueda goes up into third position, 1:45.789. We've seen McLaren starting to flirt with the front end of the field here at Monza, and the Spaniard did a fantastic job there. Bronze class, he's sitting there in third overall. But Lucas Auer is going faster still. However, that's the middle sector. His first sector wasn't as good as before. Was traffic a factor, or are the tyres starting to go?
Ferrari have gone to the top of the table right now. Alessandro Rivera in the 51A, of course, of Ferrari. 1:45.4, that's 49/100ths of a second faster than David Pittard. Lucas Auer comes across, and 4th position for the number 48 Mercedes.
Yeah, no improvement for him, but we've now got 6 drivers below 1 minute 46. That's the margin. Dan Arrow is the last of those in the silver class leading car. Right, let's ride on board with Franck Pereira. This is the 163 Lamborghini that took victory in the last endurance round for the Grasser Racing team. That was at Nürburgring, a very, very different circuit to here. And at the moment, no Lamborghinis at the top end of the field as yet.
And the BMW has now popped up into the top 3 with Dries van Thor on the number 32 WRT BMW M4, and that's 1:45.5, just half a second away. David Pittard's done the fastest lap now by over 0.3 of a second in the 34 Walkenhorst Aston Martin. So that's a good run for David. He's had a couple of laps where he's got clear-ish track, and he's consolidated that.
But wherever you look around the circuit, there are cars on the move. Cars, let's see, what the top second now goes down to 15th place, but more are going to come into it. Fran Rueda, will he improve some more? He's sitting there in 8th place at the moment. This ought to be a faster lap. No, his middle sector wasn't much good. He drops to 9th, but the names are changing at the top. It's Pittard from Rivera and Van Tor. 3 different manufacturers: Aston Martin, Ferrari, BMW, then the best of the Porsches, Aihanshan Guven. Right, let's take a look at Ye Yifei, Chinese driver, normally competes in the World Endurance Championship, but very much a Ferrari man, and he's got a good line ahead of him, enough space behind one of the Boots and VDS Mercedes that he won't be tripped up. He's left the Ascari chicane, and now he's got to focus purely on one task: sweeping around the parabolica and carrying as much speed onto that long start-finish straight in the number 71 Ferrari. It's down in 8th place at the moment. Will there be an improvement?
Well, he's got an improvement in Sector 1. He's down fractionally in Sector 2, so probably he's not going to see much improvement unless he's got a mega Section 3. So he comes across the line. No, he stays in 9th position. So we've got Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes in 3rd place. Lucas Auer has leapt up into the top 3. Dries van Thor 4th. Then the 2 Porsches of Guven and Julian Andlauer. Matteo Drudy in the number 7 Aston Martin. He is in 7th place. Surprisingly, and one might say, that would be normally the Aston Martin we would have thought would have been the quicker of all the Astons across Walkenhorst and come to you racing. But no, it's David Pittard still holds that position. 1:45.1. Pretty impressive lap indeed from David Pittard.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. So 52 cars have set times so far. They're covered by 4 and a bit seconds. Ashish Patel, newcomer in the championship, is down at the tail of the field. But some of the front runners are all squirreling the nose of the 96 Porsche. Julian Andlower, the Rutronic racing car. They said there weren't any problems yesterday, but they spent quite a lot of time in the pit garage. They said it was rudimentary changes and finding a setup. There may be an improvement. A lot of drivers, their middle of the three sectors has not improved. He does improve up to 7th place. His time, he gains 1 position, demotes Marco Wittmann's BMW just by small fractions of a second. Now the top seconds covers 23 cars. That number will keep increasing, but time is coming down. Just under 4 minutes remain out of 15.
Yeah, different categories. Eddie Cheever in the Ferrari, the Sky Tempesta car, it's leapt up into 10th position. Adam Smalley also. Adam Smalley doing a brilliant job for the Garage 59 entry there. We see him coming through Lesmo 1, and then the brake, and then the nose dips in. Used to be a much quicker corner of the two Lesmos. Lesmo 2 used to be the real challenge. Now it's been slowed down. The exit's been tightened and narrowed to make it a less sort of almost scary exit to a very quick corner. Wow,
traffic becoming an issue. That's David Pittard feeling a little bit frustrated behind one of the Lamborghinis there. He wanted to go down the inside into Parabolica, not able to do so. His margin of advantage is now 2 Aston's margin to the front because Matteo Drudi's got within, well, let's call it a 1/10 of a second, 0.099. Pittard will be frustrated there. His first sector was good, an improvement, but his lap down by 3/10 of a second, and that was traffic, purely traffic. So goes to prove you can do 4 good flying laps.
Alessandro Rivera in the number 4, of course, a Ferrari. Well, whereabouts is he in that group of cars? Is he? You can see him, just the lights flashing, trying to find a way. The land speed Porsche. This is going to have a bearing on Rivera's exit because there's cars in the middle of the road, the cars on the outside. Let's wait and see whether he can improve on current 4th position. He's certainly a man of the moment in terms of getting purple sectors, and he goes quickest overall out of the 1:44.9. First car this weekend, Bruce, we've seen break that 1-minute 45-second lap barrier.
Well, that was good. I was thinking he might be feeling frustrated, but actually he managed to not trip up over the Lion Speed GP Porsche and then got a tiny bit of a tow from Parabolica down to the start-finish line. That was important. One of the McLarens has straight-lined the first chicane. You see more of that in the race than qualifying. Now we're riding on board the 07 car, the championship-leading Aston Martin advantage. Matteo Drudi, no improvement surely coming on this lap, but he has got time to start 1 after this, and maybe he's stayed back a little bit. He's done fewer laps than some of his rivals, so he's probably planning to stay right the way to the end of the 15 minutes. But 1 minute 44.922 is his target.
Just watching Drudi as he came through the exit of the Ascari chicane, car looked very solid indeed, and he's going to come into the pit lane. He's done all he's going to do. So that car now currently 3rd quickest in first sector. Adam Smalley in the McLaren, the 1.5. Garage 59, not the Garage 159. So personal best 1st and 2nd sectors. So Adam Smalley currently in 6th position, and he's got Lucas Howard directly ahead of him, and the gap is 21/100ths of a second. Again, just comes into Parabolica and finds traffic. So that's the 98, I believe, Rover Racing. So, well, we've got an Audi time on screen, but not that's Adam Smalley. So he should, with those laps, he's gone 3rd quickest. Good effort indeed by Adam Smalley. Gets the Garage 59 car up provisionally 2nd row of the grid.
One of the beauties of Fanatec GT racing and balanced performance is you get the mix of manufacturers. We've currently got Ferrari from Aston Martin, McLaren from Aston Martin, McLaren from Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, Audi, and completing the top 10. Great lap from Mathieu Lismon, the young Belgian driver, to be in the top 10. Now the first car out on, that's another of the ASP cars, and Christopher Hasso has had his trials and tribulations, but at the moment down in 14th place. And we saw him do something very unusual, stick the car in the gravel yesterday, but the best of the Audis is currently Jim Pla in the gold class. And he is sitting in 9th position. A lot of the drivers, though, if they go out early, that's David Pittard getting out, high fives all round, gives more time for the second driver to get in the car, have the feedback ahead of the second qualifying session. It's a very quick jump from session 1 to session 2. Still in session 1 with the flag being flown right now. So the cars we're seeing coming down towards the Parabolica are coming to complete their final flying lap. Will it adjust the order?
Checkered flag. Q2 will start at 9:22. Q2 will start at 9:22.
Look for car 32. Just hearing the message about when the next session will restart, but this one hasn't finished yet. And Dries Vanthoor, if he can get tow off the number 52 Ferrari, that may propel him towards the very sharp end. His teammate Raffaele Marcello has just gone up into 3rd place. Will Dries Vanthoor improve on that?
Up to 2nd.
And he goes up to 2nd. So suddenly, I was thinking the BMWs only had 1 in the top 10, and suddenly they've got 2 in the top 4 positions.
And that's literally, it's all about timing. Just simply, they've got the 998 BMW goes to Farfus. He's sort of backed up into the rear of the Mercedes to get a bit of a toe down from the exit of Ascari all the way down to Parabolica, but not easy to overtake. And the Mercedes, you can see how defensive it's being. So Farfus is going to have to go the long way around the outside and not been given that opportunity. He's going to try and do the undercut on the exit, so that's where he is looking, but I don't know whether he's got the momentum, the sort of the wider line, and he's decided to bail. So Farfus comes into the pits, and that's be a disappointment because that's a quick car. 21st position. So I would have expected that car, just on pace and the talent behind the wheel, to be much further up, certainly maybe at the back end of the top 10.
One thing one always has to look at, as the last few cars are coming back round to go in the pits, is several cars will have lost their best times because of exceeding track limits, and the last car literally to the line will be the number 2 Mercedes, Lucas Stoltz.
Speeding the pit lane of car 11 under investigation.
Okay, that's the Come2 Racing Aston Martin.
Well, that was a worthwhile final lap from Lucas Stoltz. Last car to take the checkered flag. He was sitting way down in 28th position. He's moved up to 15th, and his aggregate is 7/10 of a second down on Alessio Rivera, but maybe his teammates can help eke that back up.
Remember I said I don't think you're going to get 46 cars covered by a second. Now, at the end of this 15-minute session, we've got 27 cars covered by, and that's the difference of going out and doing a session where there's nothing to be gained other than just learning and developing and whatever. But when it comes down to qualifying, where it's about ultimate commitment and getting stuck in, that's where the difference between, they said, the top drivers, the pro drivers, and then so for the rest of the field further all the way down.
So again, it's quick fire. Looking at the car that won the previous round, the previous endurance round, the Grasso Racing Lamborghini, car 163, wheels off, fresh set of rubber, being kept warm in the back of the garage. Driver 2 already on board. And for that car, last round winner, Franck Pereira, good only for 13th place, but it's super tight. He's just over half a second down in that 13th place. And if his teammates can build on that, it could easily be in the top 10. You need to be in the top 10 surely here to have a real crack at victory. 52 cars though, and at the end of that session, Ferrari fans will be delighted because Alessio Rivera, 9.093 of a second, faster than the rest, the only driver below 1 minute 45 in his Ferrari, and then up right at the end, Dries van Tor into second place, moving ahead in his BMW of the Aston Martin of David Pittard. Team WRT teammate Raffaele Marcello coming through in 4th place, just a quarter of a second down and a thousandth of a second ahead of the McLaren of Adam Smalley. Great run from him. Championship leading car Matteo Drudi, his Aston Martin, coming around in 6th place ahead of Fran Rueda. Another good run for a McLaren in 7th. Then Lucas Auer in his Mercedes, the Porsche of Ayhan Shanguven, and the gold class leader there is Jim Pla in 10th place overall, under half a second down on the ultimate pace. And across the classes, obviously the fastest car in the Pro class is the fastest car of all, which is that 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. Had its trials and tribulations through the practice sessions, but seems to be coming good, John, at the very right moment.
Yes, and this is the right moment because this is what's going to count. And grid positions at Monza, 52 car field.
Fast lane open, fast lane open.
You need to be in that sort of maybe top 4 to 5 rows of the grid if you're going to be a serious player at the end of 3 hours.
Well, this car's about to go back on the track, but let's go down because Gemma Scott's going down and she's caught up with our fastest driver, Alessio Rivera.
Alessio, a great start to quali. Of course, we've still got 2 sessions to go. You were chatting to Vincent before he got in the car. What are you telling him there?
Yes, a really good start, to say. Yeah, it was just a quick chat because the track conditions are quite different compared to yesterday. The temperature is quite low, so the balance of the car is quite different. So, yeah, but in the end, it's important to be P1 in the first session and keep going like this. Yeah, still 2 sessions of qualifying. Vincent is a super quick driver and Ale as well, so finger crossed.
Absolutely. It would be no surprise, I think, to see Ferrari at the top here in Monza, and it would be a great thing for the Tifosi who are here filling the stand.
Yeah, of course, our target is the victory, and starting from P1 is always better.
That was a very quick fire interview with a very quick driver.
Yeah, indeed. And what he was referring to were different conditions. The reason why he's saying that is because yesterday, when that pre-qualifying session, which started, I think, at 2 o'clock, ambient temperature, track temperature particularly, up to 40 degrees Celsius. This morning, 19.
Yeah.
Massive difference. And it makes a massive difference to the feeling and the feedback a driver gets through the steering wheel, through every part of the car.
And every driver in that first session was a pioneer in a way. They were the ones that bring back the real information, the seat of the pants information for the engineers to try and do anything they possibly can, but also just to put it in the mind of the drivers doing the second and third qualifying sessions. Much cooler, as you pointed out, Joe. So some of those drivers might have had a tiny element of caution in that first run, but now there's a bit more information for the drivers in session 2 and session 3. Session 2 almost about to start. We'll see how the pace picks up. But under 1 minute 45, that was the target we were looking for. And by the smallest of margins, 1 minute 44.922 seconds, Alessio Rivera has done just that.
And I would expect, particularly in qualifying 3, to see other car driver pairings maybe exceed the time set by Rivera, because the car will be lighter. We've talked about the fuel running down. You're not allowed to refuel during qualifying. And again, will the top teams, the pro teams particularly, hold back new sets of tires that they may have to the grid position? Pretty much every event we go to is key. Here at Monza, because it's slow corners fundamentally and long, fast straights, so it's acceleration, brake, acceleration, brake. There used to be really high-speed corners at Monza. Quickest corner now, forget the Curva Grande, that's not even a corner, it's probably Parabolica. And even at the apex, it's not actually such a high-speed corner. The apex is probably around about 95, 100 miles an hour. The exit's about 140 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's funny how it changes, still that essence of speed. And as with the first of the 3 qualifying sessions, the second session starts with just a handful of cars going out onto the circuit. And I think it was the Walkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin that was the first one to go out onto the circuit. But the others playing that waiting game. But the longer that you wait, the more traffic there's going to be around you. The drivers have to work their space. And they still know, now that marker has been laid down by Alessio Rivera, that they really, really need to get below 1 minute 45 if they're going to have a chance of getting on the front the front handful of rows in this event. And it's the times added together from session 1, session 2 and session 3 that will give us the aggregate time. The Pure Racing Porsche, that's had a cracking season in class, goes out onto the circuit. That's really finding its feet in the championship this year.
Yeah, Klaus Bachler behind the wheel, and Klaus is an extremely acknowledged Porsche specialist. So he's one of the early, the pro cars, you might say, pro-driven car along, yes. So yeah, we've got currently 5 cars have exited the pit lane. Klaus Bachler makes it now 6. Miguel Ramos out in the McLaren, the 188 McLaren Garage 59. Marco Mappelli in the 163 Lamborghini. We were talking about that car in the pit lane, so it's ventured out now. So some teams opting to take the opportunity when the track is relatively clear. The danger, of course, is you're about to start your first flying lap. And I'm going to say a swarm, let's call it a swarm of GT3 cars enter the pit lane, enter the racetrack, and of course they filter down into turn 1.
Yeah, the car that should be first round to greet them would be the first one out the pits. Valentin Hasklohe. Haven't seen him coming around in the Aston Martin that was qualified so well, 3rd fastest in the first session for teammate David Pittard. Still not coming around the Parabolica. Here comes Hasklohe. And he's going to find a group of cars, but hopefully he may be lucky. There was a real swarm of them just leaving the pit lane. I think he's got a little bit of space in front of him. The Chicato Racing BMW is just coming out. He should go past that one there. Okay, that's not into his path. Look at the speed differential, though. Now they're into the braking zone. Nose down on the black and gold Aston Martin. So he's not interrupted. That's good news for Hasklohe. 3rd at the moment, but no time on the run. In fact, he's getting the first time would be at the end of this lap, and then he can add that to the achievement of David Pittard. But it's clear ahead of him. They were lucky.
I mean, he's got one car, which is, I don't know whether that's just a car that's come out of the pit lane or not. He probably will, I mean, it'll be maybe around Lesmo 1 or Lesmo 2, assuming it doesn't get up to pace. So there we see Hasklohe, fastest overall. He's now got a green, so somebody has exceeded that. So it's the 35 Aston Martin of Hullefen. Hullefen has gone quickest in Sector 1.
Yeah, no, it's Klaus Bachler who looks like he's setting the pace. So he went out about 4th in the queue of cars, the Pure Racing Porsche number 911, the red and yellow car. But I think this lap's looking pretty good from Valentin Hasklohe. But yeah, Lorcan Hannafin, that is a real move on from him. And Lorcan driving the number 30 entry and putting in a very impressive time indeed.
And you can even see Hasklohe, spinner up at the, I think that might be up at the Ascari chicane, so that's the 27. And is that going to be, it's going to be like a double wave yellow flag up there, so that's
Mark Radcliffe's Garage 59 Mercedes, and you're quite right. He spun through the first part of the Ascari chicane, of course, you can't exceed the pace, your previous pace going past it.
No, you're going to have to slow down because that was waved double yellow flags. And that means you've got to drop off. I don't know if you can see the entire field has just lost pace. Now, whether that car could be recovered without having a full course yellow, or let's say even a red flag, is up to the race director.
Yeah, for the cars on their outlap, it doesn't matter lifting a little bit, but if you're Valentin Hasklow, you had to lift a little bit, and when you were wanting to lay down a flying lap. And the sister car of Lorcan Hannafin, also from Walker North Motorsport, his Aston Martin, the white one there, just crossing the line. So Lorcan Hannafin goes top, but both of them had to lift, 1 minute 51. And in fact, 3 Aston Martins in the top 3 positions, because the number 11 car with John de Wilde has got ahead of Valentin Hasklow. I slightly feel for those drivers. They gambled about getting out early and not being interrupted by the others, and one little spin has spoiled their party.
Absolutely, I mean, that is always the issue in the short qualifying stints. We've got 15 minutes, so we gather that the car has been recovered. It's now back, it's returning probably most likely back to the pit lane. Don't know what state the tyres will be, and normally if you have a significant spin, you will flat spot your tyres, whether all 4, but certainly some of them, and you may end up having a car with a very out of balance set of Pirelli tyres, and it can shake the car so severely that it becomes impossible to drive.
Keeping eye of sights on car 57, it's Tanart Satin Tiracle Winwood Racing Mercedes. There it is, white with the black wings, the Thai driver sharing with a couple of Dutch racers, Colin Karasani and Dan Arrow. And Tanart races in the GT World Challenge Asia and has done over the years, but really enjoying his season in Europe and sweeping around the Parabolica. This is what it's all about, coming to the Temple of Speed and mixing with the very best GT3 drivers in the world. And let's see where Tanart's lap will put him. He goes second fastest, 1 minute 48.1. It's Miguel Ramos in one of the 3 Garage 59 McLarens that's fastest, 147.1. So we know faster times are coming. Will it come from the number 71 Ferrari? There is a question. That's got Thomas Neubauer at the wheel.
Keep an eye on the 998 BMW, Dan Harper behind the wheel. That was the car that was driven by Gustav Farfus, who didn't get a clear run in his stint at the end of it. But we're seeing purple sectors all the way through now, whether it's sector 1, sector 2, sector 3, and further improvements. Well, it's the Aston Martins first and second, so just looking to see what improvements. Nothing currently coming up, just times getting recorded rather than single fastest laps.
Right, remember we're talking about an aggregate across all the sessions. Jules Gounon was watching that first session. He's jumped aboard the number 2 Mercedes. There it is, bright yellow, flashing lights. He's got plenty of space ahead of him. The driver based in Andorra and doing the job you'd expect from Jules. He's done it for about a decade now, always at the front end of the championship, and always frustrated if his Mercedes isn't how he wants it, but taking quite a relatively tight line around the Parabolica there. And let's see if he can move to top. Valentin Hasklow top at the moment, waiting for that lap, and Jules Gounon goes into second place. Just bear in mind, the number 34 Aston Martin was third in the first session, currently first in the second. Adding those times together is working towards a good aggregate, but I think there's more from Gounon.
Yeah, and in the silver category, Ezequiel Perez compact in the Audi, not in his Mad Panda Mercedes. He's gone third quickest at this particular point, 1:45.893.
Well,
still times half a second, maybe more. There's Dan Harper. Now keep an eye on, he's got personal best first and second. So he's currently in 44th. It's irrelevant. He's going to go much higher. He's going up to 4th position.
There we are. He was sitting at the bottom of the timesheets just by dint of his numbers, but his that flying lap. It's Valentin Hasklow, 1 minute 44.5. Next fastest, Jules Gounon in his Mercedes, 145.6, 145.7 for Dorian Boccolacci, Schumacher, CLRT, Porsche. So getting those mixer manufacturers. And Dan Harper, as you mentioned, now 4th in the best of the BMWs. Best of the Audis, Ezequiel Perez Compact, who's moved to Santalot Racing. Best of the Lamborghinis, Marco Mappelli in 6th. So, and then a McLaren in 7th. 7 different manufacturers in the top 7.
There's one of the key entries, the 48. So, Daniel Marad, what's he going to do? Got a significant gain, sector 1, over 0.2 of a second. He's running behind one of the BMWs. As at the 32, it is.
So he's behind a fast one. And Daniel Marad is a driver, a Canadian racer who started in single-seaters, and he's really, really going super well. Both sides of the Atlantic. He was racing last weekend in Japan, very much on the Mercedes books. Let's see what he can do in the Mamba liveried number 48 Mercedes. Is he going to go top? Valentin Hasklow is still there for now. And now it's Sheldon van der Linde who goes top, and momentarily, because he's knocked off by the car that followed him over the line, which was Daniel Marad, 1 minute 45.259, still 0.3 of a second down on the best time set by Alessa Rivera in session number 1. We've still got plenty of time in this session, 6.5 minutes remain until the checkered flag will fall.
So on board, Marco Mappelli, green, sectors 1 and 2, so he's 11th. And he remains 11th, a big loss of time in that final sector. Dean McDonald in the 159 McLaren. They just caught him there, he goes through. So 19th overall at the present time, he stays 19th. Daniel Morad overall quickest in this session. Van der Linde, who's at that time in the 32 BMW, remains second.
Now, what is important, I've been talking about, you add the times together across the 3 sessions. The number 51 Ferrari, Vincent Abril, living up to the reputation he was given by Alessio Rivera, said he's quick. Well, he is quick. He's 3rd fastest in the 51 Ferrari that was fastest in the first session. Now he goes to the very top of the charts.
I think that's the combined we're looking at.
That is, of course, the combined. Yes, it is. So you added the 2. So 51, 32 and 48. That's across the 2 sessions. And it's very close indeed.
Aston Martin, again, very strong in that middle sector. Comes out 3rd, so Benetton. So that overall puts that car up into 3rd position in the combined first qualifying. And we haven't quite got to the finish. We've got another 5 minutes to go. So quite a lot can change.
Yeah, exactly so. But it's about getting a good time in the first session, added to one in the second and the third. And Ezekiel Perez Compact is really enjoying his time in an Audi. Let's see what can happen to the number 32 Audi. Sheldon van der Linde, sorry, BMW. He is sitting at the moment in 3rd place overall and goes up into 2nd place. His lap just moves him up ahead of Valentin Hasclo.
Well, there is Ezekiel Perez Compact. I mean, fastest overall in Sector 1. Very, very impressive indeed. Middle sector, nothing particularly special. Not bad, not good, but that puts him in 15th position. 15th in terms, no, 15th overall. In this session, he's 9th.
Yeah, so, but just to give you a guide there, John, as he was completing that lap, he's fallen to 28th in this second qualifying session. Could cross the line, gained 18 positions, moved to within half a second of the ultimate pace.
Bacalocci in the Porsche comes across the line. Well, he will do in a minute, followed by Dan Harper. So expect to see, so Harper goes 8th, Bacalocci goes 4th, and in terms of overall, looking to see Harper will be 8th, and whereas Bacalocci, he is 4th overall combined. Mercedes runs away. Oh, Honda, the BMW, the Rover Racing BMW, sitting in the middle of the track, and it's had a shunt. That's going to be a red flag, I can guarantee you.
4 minutes left on the clock. Everyone else having to avoid the Mercedes sitting facing the wrong way. The BMW sitting facing the wrong way in the track.
So why or what caused that? Difficult to see, but that high-speed incident for the Rover Racing team, and that will have a significant effect now, because that car very unlikely to be able to be returned and recycled to get out in Q3. So red flag has been, and I suspect, well, there will be 3 3/4 minutes. It was Maxime Costin.
Yes, the young Dutch racer who's really making great strides. Didn't see what caused that, but sitting facing the wrong way in the traffic as it exits the 3rd part of the Ascari chicane, trying to carry as much speed as possible. It's not
98 best lap time so far deleted, causing red flag.
Okay.
Just to add insult to injury, you've caused the red flag, and as a penalty, you lose your best time as well.
Well, at the moment, he's sitting down in 29th place, and if that best time is removed, and he was improving on that, that's possibly going to put him down at around 40th out of the 52 positions. So that is absolutely not what the doctor ordered.
Well, I'd love to see a replay. Hopefully, we will have one to see what led to that incident. Was it self-induced, or was it assisted by another car, or whatever? Looked as if the car, certainly one corner of the right front or the right rear, would have been broken. And that may have been the well, there it is. You see right front well and truly broken. Right rear suspension likewise is broken too. So where, maybe, I don't know whether he just came out wide watching. Yeah, he did. Usual story. He just overran on the exit, and the car went into a long sort of pivoting spin and goes from diagonally from right to left across the track into the tire bales, and then bounces back in, stops. So significant amount of damage to the 98 BMW for Rover Racing.
And so the 3rd driver waiting to get in that car now realises he doesn't have a car to compete in. And that should be Robin Freitz, I think, walking away. I think Marco Wittmann did the first session. But for Maxime Houston, young driver, you know, rocking up into a sort of works team, huge disappointment for him there. But we've seen it throughout this meeting. Drivers dipping a wheel just over the, either running wide on the exit of the 3rd chicane, or the other version, we've had people dipping a wheel into the gravel on the left-hand side, and then the same effect.
I think in this instance, it's the 3rd sector or segment of the Ascari chicane. If the curbing on the outside, if you ride over it and let the outside wheels drop down, that then in effect can start that whole process of the long, slow pivoting spin.
Minimum repair time will be 10 minutes.
So damage to the barriers on the exit of the Ascari chicane. In the meantime, it's the 51 Ferrari. I'm just watching the timing and scoring. The overall, we're just getting that cycling through. So this is 26 down to 50th. The overall so far combining sector 1, or qualifying 1 and so far qualifying 2.
Yeah, getting those times added together is certainly shifting people around, but fastest in the first session, very quick time from Vincent Abril. Not quite as fast, he's down by 0.2 of a second on Alessio Rivera's time that put that 51 AF Corsa Ferrari to the top of the timesheets in qualifying 1, but they all had at least one more flying lap in them, but that has been interrupted. We've got 3 minutes 46 seconds remaining on the clock, and we've just heard from race director that at least 10 minutes. Listen to the radio.
P1 on your session. Yeah, P1 in your session.
Yeah, the ground came alive in the last lap. I need to do maybe a prep lap at the beginning is useless.
Okay, that was Vincent Abril huffing and puffing in the car. He's got to consider what else he can do, but he's done a fantastic job. He's normally in the sister car, number 71, but Davide Rigon not here this weekend, so he jumped at the chance to join Alessio Rivera. Rivera fastest in first session, and he's matched him being fastest in the second. Yeah. So he's done the good job, and then Alessandro Pierguidi will hop in for session at number 3.
Dorian Boccolacci in the lead Porsche, currently second in this session, only 0.17 of a second behind. So while Vincent has got a comfortable advantage, one might say, in time test, it's not that comfortable. So he will have to go out again as when the session gets underway with a further 9 or 10 minutes to clear the track and clear up the residue of the BMW. So overall it's Abril, then the number 32 BMW, Sheldon van der Linde, then Valentin Haskell in the Aston Martin, third, Boccolacci fourth, Morad fifth, and then Marco Sorensen, number 7, Aston Martin, in 6th position.
Yeah, what it is giving, this longer gap between the sessions, is more of a chance for the driver who's been in the first session to share his knowledge. The driver just come back in from the second session, but will stay helmeted because they have to go back out again. 3 minutes and 46 seconds. That's going to be a scramble to get out, do an outlap, and then try and make space on the track to deliver a really quick flying lap. And I think a lot of people may not manage it. Right, this weekend, John, we've got a new entry. They like to pop up in the championship because it's BMW Ceccato Italia Racing, and they've been running BMWs in the Italian series for years. Felice Gelmini is one of the 3 drivers, and they're finding out what life is like mixing with the top guns in racing. At the moment, he's down in 32nd position, but again, not only a whisker under a second off the pace, over a second. 31 cars now covered by the top second.
There are the 4 Come To You Racing Aston Martins all lined up, looking resplendent, and Aston Martin have been really a very, very strong brand here this weekend. Currently, the quickest one is Marco Sorensen in the number 7, and then we have got...
We've actually, the fastest is the 34.
Valentin Haskell in 5th position. Then it's the number 7, or 007 as it's referred to.
But one thing, now we're looking at the Mamba crew. Lucas Auer did the job early on, 3rd driver on board that. We'll be seeing very soon indeed out in the car, and that will be Maro Engel. But the German just standing, acknowledging the numbers. In the background, you can see Lucas Auer. His job is done, but the focus is definitely for Maro.
Daniel Morad has put his helmet back into the storage space. Now, wait to see whether the session will be recommenced or not.
Well, we're just going to pop down and join Gemma Scott in the pitch lane. And she has headed straight towards the 34 Walk and Horse Motorsport Aston Martin. She's caught up with Valentin Haskell.
Valentin, just looking up there at the timings, are you? And admiring your good work.
Say again?
Admiring your good work. You seem to be consistently strong. We saw you feature in Q1 with the 34 car, and then again for yourself there in that session.
Yes, we've been working pretty hard over the past 2 days to find a good balance, because we know that here in Quali it's a bit of a lottery. So as long as we are happy with our balance and we find a clean lap, we knew that the average would be good. And for the moment we had 2 clean Quali with David and I having clean laps. Now it's Enrique's job to finish.
Yesterday, when we were watching the timings across free practice and pre-quali, there were 46 cars that all within 1 second of each other, which is It feels quite ridiculous to say it, doesn't it? And again, in this session, it's really, really close.
It's absolutely mental, and now I'm used to multi-class racing with other championship, and I'm back this weekend, and I'm literally out of my comfort zone. It's crazy out on track, and it's good fun, actually.
Is it a case of elbows out a little bit here?
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to the race for that.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Bye.
A lovely, honest interview with Valentin Hasclo. How many drivers actually admit they're out of their comfort zone, but he knows he can deliver the job. The barrier's being repaired. This is where the number 98 Rover Racing BMW went from stage right to stage left and into the barriers on the exit of the Ascari chicane. Everybody else, all the other 51 cars, sitting in the pit lane, sitting, waiting, wanting to get the message through as soon as possible about when the session will restart. 3 minutes and 46 seconds will remain on the clock, but we've got a few of the front runners had not delivered times. Maxime Martin, for example, the number 46 BMW, that was well placed in the first session. It was fourth, but right now sitting with no great time on the board, down in 29th position. And all it takes, John, across these 3 sessions is to have one of your sessions producing a time that's not absolutely electric and magnificent, and you're scuppered.
Well, I'm assuming when this session gets back underway, it's going to be a mad charge to be the first car at the line of cars leading back onto the track, because if you can get out first and get a quick out lap, then you do your first flying lap with 3 minutes 46. It's very marginal if you get more than one flying lap or not. I can't do the mathematics of this too early in the morning. But it's going to be important to be at the very front, in my opinion, of the grid once the signal has gone down that the pit lane is open.
Yeah, it's going to be a real scramble. We talked earlier about you have a bit of a risk if you decide to go out at the end of these 15-minute sessions. And one car hasn't even set a time. The number 78 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini in the bronze class, Till Bechtelsheimer, has not been able to build on the work of Anton Dauquin. So he absolutely has to get out very near the front of the queue just to set a flying lap, because without that flying lap, their aggregate time is going to be truly awful. Right, this is the car, the number 52 Ferrari from AF Corsa Racing, leading the bronze class, but it's a very, very tight battle in that particular class. So they know they've got to really, really pick up the pace. And but at the moment, with a good job from Jeff Michiels, 13 fastest, that is very handy. In fact, he's the third fastest of all the Ferraris. Of course, the number 51 Ferrari is at the top of the pile. The number 93 car, just look at that, the Sky Tempesta Racing one. Waiting for a quick time from Jonathan Hui. He's down in 43rd position. So he's another driver suddenly with a whole host of pressure heaped on his shoulders.
Yes, it's a tough situation and doesn't get help when you've got a car going off and the momentum that you've built up, and then you have to stop, come in and wait. And the circuit obviously has got to be repaired. The BMW, 98 BMW has been removed. It'll be on its way back to the Rover Racing team, and they'll have to start stripping off a significant amount of bodywork to get at the mechanics of the car. Hopefully there's no structural damage to the front suspension, the area around the front suspension. Particularly, that seems to have taken the biggest amount of impact. The right rear likewise got hit, but it looked more like a toe link on the right rear that was maybe the item that was broken. Nevertheless, a lot of work for the Rover Racing team.
Yeah, and in fact, with that best time being removed for causing the red flag, Maxime Mouton is down in 44th position this session with a time 1.7 seconds down. Across 3 sessions on a track like this, you do not recover from that in terms of working your way back up in the charts, even if they could get the car out in the third session, which I very, very much doubt. So it's a question of who's going to be top. We've got Vincent Abril in the 51 Ferrari crew. He's the second of the 3 drivers in that crew at the top of the pile. Dorian Boccolacci in this car, the number 22 Schumacher CLRT Porsche. Car lovers on the road, 3.0 written across the nose. He is just 17 thousandths of a second off the fastest pace in this one. And that car was also in the top 10. But let's go down and hear from one of the drivers of the 998 crew. His name is Augusto Fafs, and he's going to spill the beans.
Augusto, you were out on track on the first session. What's it like out there today?
Well, first session was pretty cold. We struggled a lot to get temperature into the tire, so we did an adjustment for Q2, which seems to work. Currently, we are average P8, so we are looking good. I mean, it's a shame. It's very unfortunate what happened to the 98. Have to understand what happened there. Conditions are pretty difficult. Track is very slippery. Difficult to get temperature and energy to the tires, but those who manage, they definitely make a big step. So let's see now Q3 how it goes.
I mean, talking about your teammates there, driver's okay. That's the most important thing. But what about the car? That's going to be a lot of work for the team, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen the car yet. Yeah, those guys. But we are with the best team in the paddock, so they will be able to fix this, I'm pretty sure. But definitely not a lot of time and a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And I'll let you get back to your boss.
Yes. So, of course, Augusto Farfus from 998, but it was the sister car with Maxime Mouston who just hooked it over the curb, John.
Yes, I mean, it's a familiar sight. Coming out of the Scaria chicane, you want to release the car as early as possible, take out any side slip. But if you get the two right-hand side wheels over that curb, it's very dirty in the opposite, just where the curb ends. And that's where the whole problem just began. That you start that big, long, slow, arcing spin, and you know what's coming. You can't stop the car before the contact. And then you get the rebound back onto the center of the racetrack. Fortunately, everybody who was following seemed to have been pre-alert. You can see the marks where the car had dropped those two wheels off the curb, and then there's two tire marks where that's where the BMW then swung back and went across the racetrack.
And also he knew full well, Maxime Mouston knew that he was in a gaggle of cars. There'll be other cars very, very close around him. So number 98, plenty of work required on that. Hopefully they can get it fixed in time for the race. But for everybody else, it's really short conclusion of the second of the three qualifying sessions. They're 15 minutes in all. They've only got 3 minutes and 46 seconds remaining in this. And even just filing out of the pit lane when they want to rush out onto the circuit is going to take quite a few seconds for a lot of these cars. So probably dealing with only 3 minutes maximum, which is an out lap and then a flying lap.
Yeah. I mean, if you an out lap, if you're the first car back out on the track from a standing start, if you imagine a 1:45.0 as your benchmark lap time, it's going to take you probably maybe 1 minute 50, maybe just over, fractionally over that. And that's a car that's getting out on clear track and being able to nail it. Remember, the tyres will be cooling down. They're not, I suspect, whether they've been removed and put back into the blankets to get them back up to temperature. You can see most of the cars are up on their jacks and the wheels and tyres are off. But it'll be one flying lap. That's about all they're going to be. Valentino looking there.
Well, his car needs to get a move on because it was in the top. It was in fourth position the first qualifying session. Raffaele Marcello right at the end when those two BMWs came up. But currently in this session, Maxime Martin only down in 29th place.
Yeah, but Valentino looks very unfazed, very relaxed. On the other hand, you got Raffaele Marcello who set the time in the first session. He's sitting looking more race face already on, and Maxime Martin with his helmet still in place, so he'll jump back in, and undoubtedly Maxime Martin in that 46 BMW more than capable, because he was the quickest car running we had on Friday.
Well, still static in the pit lane, the car's still standing there, but Gemma Scott has caught up with Dorin Boccolacci, who was second fastest in the first part of this session. He's about to go out again.
Dorin, you've just come out of the car after the Q2 session. You're not going back out when it restarts?
No, because we put the amount of fuel that we need for Q1, Q2, Q3, and we need to keep it a bit for Kevin later on. Quite happy with the Q2 now.
Yeah, the car seems to be running well, and you're well up there in the timing sessions.
Yeah, so Ian Chan made a really good qualifying, and we did also a good qualifying. It made it in my last lap. So actually I put sector 1, 2 and 3 in the same lap, so it's what we need to top in P2 now. And there is still 3 minutes to go, but I think it's a good lap for the qualifying.
It's always interesting to look into the start of a weekend and sort of people talk about which manufacturer might be more dominant at a circuit, but here it seems to be quite the mix.
Exactly, no, honestly, it's very mixed. There is Aston Martin, Ferrari, Porsche, many brands in the top, so it will be a good fight until the end of the race for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
5 brands in the top 5 places.
Yeah.
So it is competitive. Interestingly, they're not going to send Dorin Boccolacci back out again because the amount of fuel they've got on the car, they've calculated. So maybe even just doing that additional out lap and even having to do one more flying lap might just be critical to then when Kevin Estre gets in for that final qualifying session. So they don't want to compromise what Kevin Estre is going to do, and they're happy with their current second fastest overall in this session. So that's rolling the dice, as they say. Dries van Thor in conversation with the two owners of WRT, Vincent Vos, and the dad of Charles Vetz.
Yeah, Yvette's looking on.
Yes.
I mean, Dries just looking so cool, calm and collected because he got it absolutely right in that first qualifying session. Second fastest, got it right there on the final lap. This time, maybe not all the cars will go out. Maybe a lot of them are kind enough to leave fuel in their tank for driver number 3. Come2 Racing have an advantage. Therefore, Aston Martins are lined up closest to pit exit. So if they choose, they can shift them out. Be interesting to see how many go. How many people, like Doran Bockel, actually thinks, I might be able to improve, but I could equally easily be tripped up. It's just not worth it. Sitting with good times in the bank. It's the ones like number 46, Maxime Martin, down in 29th. They have got to move their way up the charts. They have to go out.
I think if you look at the times from that middle sector, that sector qualifying 2, maybe the top 4 down to Murad in the 48 Mercedes, Daniel Murad, 145.2. Maybe they could sit it out and feel, well, we don't need to go back out. But certainly, like the 46 BMW has to go back out.
So, still waiting for the tyres to go on. For the cars that will go out to complete Q2 here at Circuit of Monza. 3.6 miles of twists and turns. Heavy braking in a way they didn't used to have, but it's about finding a toe and getting through those chicanes tidily. And that's just in qualifying. When it comes to the race, of course, those chicanes become very different animals, John.
Yes, all the chicanes have been revised since a year ago. Curbing's changed and different challenge.
Well, let's go back down to the pits and the 777 entry. Brock Feeney, young Australian racer, with Gemma Scott.
I think the fast lane is just about to open. It's all getting rather busy down here. But Brock Feeney joins me. Brock, this is your first time racing here in Monza. Speed.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Obviously, it's pretty hectic at the moment, but to be here, my first European tracks are a lot of fun. It's obviously very fast, but looking forward to getting out there and having a bit of fun.
I mean, learning this track must be quite tricky in the beginning, but the high speed and then those chicanes, we've seen a lot of action, including the dramas just unfolded in Q2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with the new track resurface as well, it's changed a lot with the curbs that you can take. So I think everyone's learning a bit this weekend, but it's been a lot of fun for me, a lot different to what I'm used to in Australia. So it's great to be here and looking forward to getting back out there.
Enjoy. Thanks a lot, Brock. Take care.
Thank you.
So the Rolling Thunder is Brock Feeney. He's going out for the third session. And bear in mind, there are about 3 times as many cars as he's normally used to competing against, or at least double. So elbows out, keep it neat, keep it tidy. And it's just don't make mistakes. Right, the number 46 BMW, we said that had to go out and improve its time. Maxime Martin, just one of the first cars out of the pit. He's down in 29th position. But if he can get a good lap in, he can add that time to a 4th fastest time in session 1 from Raffaele Marcello. And then the scramble for the pit exit. At the moment, on combined times, it's number 51 at the very top. It's the AF Corsa Ferrari. 32, that's the Van der Linde Team WRT BMW, and Valentin Haskell building on David Pittard's work in the number 34 Aston Martin. Can anybody else ruffle the order? We've got already just under 3 minutes remaining.
Yes, so it's going to be tight, and we saw I think it probably is going to be Jake Dennis going out in the Century Motorsport 991 BMW. We just caught that as we were looking at another car. It was sitting in the pit lane stationary. So you have to be patient. We've now got 2.5 minutes remaining. So enough time for everybody to get out, do their out lap, and then just nail it. They're the cars that have chosen to sit it out, including the 34, which has done a great job. Vanson Haas-Klo, currently that car 5th quickest in this session. Yeah, and 3rd fastest overall. So it's a position to defend, but they've decided they've done what they can in this session. Now looking for the cars that have to charge. The blue and yellow flashed number 46 BMW Maxime Martin goes into Parabolica. By getting out early, he's got a chance definitely to get one good flying. That may just not be able quite by the fractions. Maybe just get the first few cars may just get 2 flying laps in. Let's see. Well, the 163 lap. Right, okay. The number 32 BMW can. That is just at the bottom of the picture, the number 46, but not sure if the number 30 just quite made it. It really was tight. And again, Team WRT thinking on their feet. And let us see what Sheldon Van der Linde can do. He's 6th on the times in Q2. He's just under 0.2 of a second down. He can find 1/10. That'll move him up at least probably 1 row overall. But then we're still waiting for the 3rd driver in that crew, Charles Wirtz, to deliver the goods in qualifying 3. One slip up wrecks the show. Basically, the car we've got to figure is the car, the blue and yellow BMW Maxime Martin. He is the car that's out of position relative to where it normally would be. So he will need to use everything he's going to get from the Sheldon Van der Linde BMW to drag him along. And that's what he's going to try and hope and do. He knows that Van der Linde was quick. He managed to do, well, he was 6th overall and up until the point when the red flag was displayed, the circuit went. into red flag conditions, so watch and see Sheldon van der Linde, Joseph Owega, Maxime Martin, the 3 cars we're focusing on the timing and scoring. Martin's got a personal best this lap coming into the Ascari chicane. Only driver of those 3 cars we're focusing on, so there will be an improvement, but look, he's 0.3 of a second down in sector 1. In part, it might be just because he didn't quite get the tyres up to the operating temperature he needed. He's going to come across the line. He's going to have another chance. One more flying lap, and that was the benefit of being near to the front of the field when you went back on the circuit. So he'll get this lap and one more. We've got 20 seconds, it's 10 seconds. Going to come across the start-finish line. Going to be very, very close. He gets across the line. 3 seconds to spare.
Yeah, look.
And in the meantime, goes up to 7th quickest.
Exactly so. And a good job, but there is more to come. Presumably, again, traffic will be an issue. The number 2 Mercedes at the moment not at the sharp end of the field for Zhugun on the checkered flag will greet him. He is sitting down in 10th place. Is there going to be an improvement? Yes, there will be, surely, unless he's made a mess of the parabolica. So let's see what the Get Speed car can move up to.
Checkered flag, Q3
so
will start
now, Jake Dennis.
10:04.
This car,
Q3 will start at 10:04.
So still super busy. Jules Gounon did move up, but only by 1 position, waiting to see particularly what the number 46 BMW can do. How far can that advance? Because it just squeaked through before the flag. It's moved to 17th place already. Jake Dennis in the 991 is in 16th. Is he going to improve on this lap? Well, certainly his first sector was good. His second sector, not so much.
He's lost a little bit of time just getting close to the back of the Mercedes. So he stays in 13th. So that was maybe a disappointment.
Yeah, moving up the order, but it's about getting the 2 times together, waiting to see what we can get out of the last 2 cars. Riding on board with Jonathan Hui, he's second in the bronze class and needs to find improvement for the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari. He takes the flag, he stays out in 44th position, but this is the one I want to check on the progress of it. We're looking for the number 46 BMW. Maxime Martin's got it up to 17th place at the moment, and he's coming down in the background of these 3 shots. Not quite close enough, surely, to be interrupted. He needs to get in the top 10 to be added to the time that was achieved, the 4th fastest time in the first of the 3 qualifying sessions. It was delivered right at the end, and the checkered flag is falling, looking for an improvement from 46, looking for that time to come on the board, and done a good job. Very good job, 7th fastest in this session.
In fact, he leapfrogs the sister car of Sheldon van der Linde. He was right again tucked under the tail of the Mercedes, whereas Maxime Martin was that little bit further back and was able to drive where he wanted to drive and was much less compromised. So slight compromise for the 32 and much better of it from the 46. Maxime Martin drives that car up to 7th in this session.
Yeah, one thing that happened in this session when we combined the averages, a great lap from Marco Sorensen, almost went under the radar. 3rd fastest in this session. It's suddenly on aggregate pushed his Aston Martin ahead of the number 34 Aston Martin of Haskell into 3rd and 4th positions, but it's Sheldon van der Linde's time, 8th in this session combined with the first session time of his teammate that puts them 2nd overall. But Vincent Abril, look at the number 51 Ferrari. It was fastest in the first session with Alessia Rivera, and it has picked up. So there it is, Vincent Abril building on the work of Alessia Rivera, and first in the first session, first in the second session. Do the maths, they're first overall. So it's up to the 3rd driver, Alessandro Pierguidi, who will get aboard the number 51 Ferrari to see if he can complete the show and get the ultra valuable pole position for this afternoon's race.
So we had a long break in between the stoppage and restart of Q2, and we'll go back into the pit lane, and hopefully it'll be a quick turnaround to try and claw back some of the time lost.
Well, let's hear the radio from car 46 that made the moves right at the end.
Okay, Maxime, P7, good job. Good job, mate. You crossed the line 2 seconds before checkered flag. Yeah, well done, boys. Good strategy.
Good strategy, but you know what it takes with that is also the experience that Maxime Martin had to stay a cool head, and that lap for him put his car right back up into the mix. 7th on aggregate across those first 2 qualifying sessions. So many drivers could have just not quite delivered there, but with Alessia Rivera fastest in session 1, Vincent Abril fastest in session number 2. It's the 51A, of course, the Ferrari at the top of the pile by just under 1/5 of a second from Dries van Toren and Sheldon van der Linde in that number 32 BMW. And then Matteo Drudi and Marco Sorensen, with Sorensen moving them up to third on aggregate with a great time right at the end of qualifying number 2. David Pittard, Valentin Haskell in the second of the Aston Martins. That's from Walkenhorst Motorsport, right in the mix as well. Just a thousandth of a second faster across 2 sessions than Ayhancan Guven and Dorin Boccolacci in the Schumacher CLRT Porsche. And 6th place, Raffaele Marcello, and that great lap from Maxime Martin in the second of the WRT BMWs, good for 6th on aggregate. And so it goes on, and still some big names not quite where they want to be yet, so they've got to really, really chase it in this final session. A couple of crews right down in 37th position. I expected to see a bit more of a time there for the 777 Mercedes. That will come, so it's the debutant Brock Feeney who's got to deliver.
I want to already see how Brock Feeney does in his qualifying session. I mean, he says it's his first visit to compete in Europe. Coming to Monza, fantastic racetrack to debut on, and I mean, Australian motor racing at the level they race at is exceptionally competitive. So he will not feel out of place coming here into another exceptionally competitive championship.
No, exactly so. But it's getting across all 3 sessions. Overall fastest, of course, in all 3 sessions, of course, they're fastest in Pro. That is the 51 AF Corsa crew. And the driver who's got to deliver next for them is Alessandro Pierguidi, and how he's delivered across the years for them. They didn't quite take victory in the Spa 24 Hours. It really looks like it was going their way. That disappointment is behind them. And now they're going to see if that 51 car can take pole here at Monza. And that will certainly send the Tifosi crazy. It is extra pressure, John, for a driver racing Ferrari, for an Italian driver racing for Ferrari in Italy.
Oh, yes, there's always been the case. So you race for the team. If you're a Ferrari driver, you don't race for yourself. That comes second. And that's been the way since the team was sort of back in 1948 when officially Ferrari entered a car under his own name. Prior to that, he was the official representative. And then going back to the days pre-Second World War for the Alfa Romeo team.
Well, let's find out the thoughts from the pit lane. It's Gemma Scott. And let's hear from Vincent Abril, who was fastest in session number 2.
Well, that's what they call a job well done, isn't it? First in Q1, first in Q2. It's looking very promising.
Yeah, to be entirely honest, I think I underestimated the pressure of being on the 51 car in the home race with all the Italian fans. You know, you can prepare as much as you want at home, but nothing comes close. So I'm very thankful to the team for how they prepared for the weekend. I think Alessio and Alessandro are 2 amazing drivers to be aside. And yeah, I'm very pleased. Obviously, the job is not done yet, and there's a lot to do in this 3-hour race with some changes, let's say, a little bit to the regulations, but I'm confident we have the best team to try and go to the end.
Well, you talk about the pressure of racing in front of home fans. Who's going to be starting today?
I cannot tell you, but yeah, it is special, and I have to say, you know, I've been in this position many times, but this is Ferrari, and this is something else. So no, I'm very happy. The car was great. We worked our way through practices, and we improved the car, and that's the sign that, you know, things are going forward. So that's good.
Well, as you say, it's certainly looking strong. Have a great weekend. Well done again. Thanks, Vincent.
Nice clear thoughts there from Vincent Abril. He worked his way up the order through Q2 and came out at the top, so he's done his job. But it's interesting how he's just feeling the pressure, moving from the 71 car to the 51, which is the primary car for AF Corsa, a Ferrari on home ground. And for the Monegasque driver, he's trying to imagine what it's like to be an Italian driving a Ferrari on home ground, but he did a fantastic job. And now it's into the hands of Alessandro Pierguidi to see if he can make it 3 from 3. The car's already starting to come up to form a line at pit exit. The 4 Come To You Racing Aston Martins waiting their turn down in the garages closest to the green light that's now flashing, and Walkenhorst Motorsport like to get their Aston Martins out very early indeed, and the queue is being led by the number 35 car, their white one. For garage 59, their McLaren still sitting there waiting for warm rubber to be brought out.
So here we go, last 15-minute session. Let's hope we have a clear session, no interruptions, but don't hold your breath because the pressure is on, especially for those teams, drivers in the pro categories who are looking to consolidate their positions at the front of the grid. Alessandro Pierguidi behind the wheel of the Ferrari that's dominated the 2 previous sessions. Charles Verts behind the 32 BMW, and Nicky Thiem. I love Nicky Thiem. He's just such a star and always exciting to watch. And then Enrique Chavez doing a great job for the Walkenhorst 34 Aston Martin. Kevin Estra, Revan Kevin in a Porsche. Well, who else could ever be in a Porsche that is going to set the circuit? Absolutely decimate all the times.
Well, he's a driver who makes a circuit far wider than a lot of other drivers can manage. Quite a few cars already getting out early on. Paradigm Motorsports with Darren Lung going out to see what he can do and see how he can advance up the order. This is the third of the 3 qualifying sessions, 15 minutes each. Let's hope this one can run the 15 minutes uninterrupted, because Q2, Maxi Mouston had a little rotation and clattered the barriers in the Rover Racing number 98 BMW on the exit of the Ascari chicane. And right now we're just waiting. I mentioned Darren Lung there. He is in the Paradigm Motorsport BMW, red, gold and black. And Darren, not many years in racing, but he's had prodigious success, British GT champion, and spreading his wings around Europe this year. But like all the other drivers, it's getting the heat into the Pirelli rubber, trying to work out exactly when you're ready to attack. But getting to the end of your out lap is the time you should be ready to sweep through the parabolic or onto the start-finish straight and hope and pray that no other cars are going to pop out of the pits into your path, when you're starting your first flying lap.
He's got Jens Klinsmann in the number 30 BMW as his sort of shepherd, guiding him through and benefiting from whatever the aerodynamic tools he's going to get coming down into the first chicane. Of course, both BMWs got identical straight line performance. All you can rely upon is the hole in the air that Klinsmann is providing for Darren Lung as he comes down into and exits through the first chicane.
Keep it neat, keep it tidy. Bear in mind, it's not just your qualifying time. You're adding it the 2 times set by your teammates, and the ultimate grid position is set when all those times are added together and divided by 3. And at the moment, it's the number 51 Ferrari crew that are fastest on aggregate, because they were top in Q1, top in Q2, and they're going to see if they can sit there. They're being chased by the number 32 BMW, and it's Charles Weerts who takes that over. First session was a great run from that car. Second fastest for Dries van Toor, another good run for the second driver in that car, Sheldon van der Linde. And now it is the turn with Charles Weerts. See if they can stick in second place on aggregate for the grid, or maybe even go top. And Darren Lung starting to sweep around behind Jens Klingman. And again, he's got a pretty good Works BMW driver to follow to try and ape his line under the old circuit, the fabulous old bank circuit, and up the slope into the Ascari chicane.
That's David Fumanelli in the 36 Ferrari, who had a purple sector. Now that's been eclipsed. We've got 2 green sectors. Darren Lung likewise 2 green sectors, but you can see the difference in the sectors between a pro driver in a Ferrari and Darren Lung, who's a bronze driver in the BMW, 7, 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second in individual sector times. But here is Darren Lung coming down to complete. It'll be his first flying lap as Fumanelli goes across start-finish line. That car, well, it's now classified as 37th. Darren Lung, this car is combined, is up to second. Amazing, phenomenal, but that's early days yet. We have got to see, yes, the remainder of the field. And again, the pro cars, Alessandro Pierguidi is the car we're going to keep an eye on. And so there's actually three bronze cars that in terms of overall combined are the top 3.
Yeah, that will change, and it will change fast. Exactly so, John. The pro cars, we've got 19 cars in the pro class, 19 cars in the bronze class, 6 in gold and 8 in silver. So bronze is a very heavily populated category. Car 34, it's really well placed on aggregate, and it's the Walkenhorst Motorsports. Aston Martin, David Pittard did the job in the first session, Valentin Hasbro in the second, and Enrique Chavez looking very positive, fastest driver in session. Currently, if the session stopped now, they would take the pole for this afternoon's race. However, many cars to come through.
Yeah, but his lap time is, quickest currently, a 1:45.6 is nowhere near going to be quick enough to consolidate that overall. Oh, and what's happening down at Rob Bell? Now, that's unusual. I don't know. We didn't see why he had that issue coming into Parabolica, but did personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2 and just overshot. So Fumanelli in the number 8 Ferrari's got purple already, and that is going to be a strong time. He's got 2 tenths of a second and then 4 tenths of a second as he sweeps into Parabolica, but he's caught behind the Mercedes, and that's going to lose him time in this final sector, which will be a disappointment for Fumanelli.
Well, a disappointment for Kessel Racing. They're pressing on, and a very, very clean lap, but good enough to, well, in fact, it's all changing in front. David Fubinelli goes top, 1 minute 45.16. So we said across the 3 sessions, the fastest times ought to come with the track rubbered in for the 3rd session. But that is a fantastic lap for Kessel Racing. Got a bit of a tow. Luckily, the car in front, Anthony Bartone, wasn't exactly going slowly in that number 3 Get Speed Mercedes. That helped.
It did, but I think Fubinelli could have been fractionally quicker had the Mercedes not been the part of the racetrack that he would have wanted. Patrick Kujula comes through in the Lamborghini, and again gaining time. First sector only just under 2/10, but a big chunk of time in that middle sector. So to see overall where they end up. Jordan Pepper, by the way, just has gone, or the 163 Lamborghini has gone overall quickest, and this session we're waiting to see where Kujula will end up.
Now, the end of the previous lap, we saw Rob Bell getting it slightly wrong, the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. He's atoned for that. He's suddenly gone out, and at the start of his next lap, he set the fastest time of anybody. If he can keep hooking those together, he'll move forward from his current 17th position. Middle sector, not so brilliant. Who else is on the move?
So Louis Pret in the 188 Garage 59 has gone. That car currently is 4th overall. There is Rob Bell making amends for what he did the lap earlier.
Yeah, but his middle sector was almost a second off the pace. Maybe he got traffic, he's backed out, maybe he'll pick it up again. So that won't be a big improvement. In fact, he's down in car 27th into 27th position in this session. Keep an eye on the top of the graphics. That is the aggregate. So Maro Engel's time in the 48, the yellow and green Mamba liveried Mercedes, is good across the 3 sessions to be leading on aggregate by a small margin from the 34 Walkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin.
I was going to say we haven't seen a lap time from the 51 Ferrari. Neither have we from the number 7 Aston Martin. Nicky Team, Charles Veitch still hasn't combined a lap time. Valentino Rossi. So, okay, so we're just waiting to see. Here is, I think, the 51. Okay, so it's gone overall quickest 144.8, fastest again from a Ferrari.
Fastest again, but fastest we've seen across all the qualifying session by nearly 1/10 of a second. There is the target. Ben Green in that Aston Martin goes into 2nd place in this session. But across all the sessions so far, it's a number 51 Ferrari at the top of the pile. We've got 7 minutes remaining to see if they can be knocked off. Their margin, though, is over 1/4 of a second. But we're still waiting for the likes of some of the other top guns to lay their cards on the table. But Louis Pret's been doing a fantastic job in the number 188 McLaren for Garage 59. And he could be a fly in the ointment. And that car currently sitting in 9th on aggregate. But if he can complete this lap, we could see him maybe go up to 6th, 5th. Let's have a look. Has his run through the Parabolica been clean enough?
He's had clear run. He's had no traffic, so stays in 9th position. That sector lost 2.4 seconds. Strange to lose that. I mean, maybe there was something we didn't see on the lap, but to lose 2.4 seconds in one sector is a lot of time. Jordan Pepper, by the way, in this session, 2nd quickest, directly behind Alessandro Pierguidi.
Yeah, that's put them 5th on aggregate. Is Pierguidi going to go quicker? Well, his middle sector not so good. His first sector of this lap, the fastest of anybody. He has the fastest lap across all 3 of the qualifying sessions. The clock continues to count down. 6 minutes remain out of this final 15. And Alessandro Pierguidi, if he can gain another few hundredths of a second, it will just cement that pole position unless someone else does something truly, truly spectacular. Traffic, though, can always have a role to play in this.
Well, just under 6 minutes remaining. Pierguidi comes across start-finish line. His previous best, 44.8 and 44.7, so further improvement. Purple 1st and 3rd sectors, great effort. Kevin Estre, now this car is 3rd overall 3 sessions. Kevin Estre in this session currently down on 12th, dropped down to 13th because further improvements are taking place. So what can Kevin Estre do as he comes across start-finish line? So the car, 140, I can't believe 145.2.
Goes up to 8th in the session. A little bit of traffic. He's just half a second down on the fastest time set by Alessandro Pierguidi. But Jordan's pepper time was just 40 thousandths of a second slower than Pierguidi. So that 163 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini that took victory at Nürburgring in the previous round of the Endurance Series going very, very nicely indeed. Also looking to see what the Iron Lynx Lamborghini can do as well and see if that can get right to the far sharp end of the grid.
Well, that's just counting down, 4 minutes remaining. And who is the remaining that's out of position? Well, Enrique Chavez in the 34 Aston Martin currently in this session is 28th. That car is overall still in 7th position. We watch Ben Green in the Vulcan horse Aston Martin. He makes his way up through the field.
For speeding in the pit lane.
Oh dear, that's really unfortunate. Any penalty you get will cost you grid position. Rob Bell did do a far better lap. He's gone 4th in this session, but unfortunately doesn't propel his car higher than 21st on aggregate across the 3 sessions. But Rob certainly delivered the goods. Didn't quite get under 1:45.
For Ben Green, this is going to be a big lap. He needs to find time. He's up in Sector 1, fractionally down Sector 2. Charles Fetz behind in the 32 BMW, up a quarter of a second. Sector 1 down a quarter of a second. Sector 2, Ricardo Feller on the Audi. I mean, the gaps, some people are losing loads of time in the middle sector, and then sometimes they claim it back in the final sector. So Nicky Thiem has jumped up to 3rd overall in this actual session, and that puts Nicky Thiem in the number 7 Aston Martin currently on the provisional front row of the grid.
So traffic definitely having a role to play. Still waiting for Charles Weerts to improve. He's down in 15th in this session, which moves the number 32 BMW to only 5th on aggregate. But again, you find a little bit of a second now. 71, we're looking for the second of the AF Corsa Ferraris, and David Vidales is 22nd in this position, moving him down to, unfortunately, 12th overall. They want that at least in the top 10. You've got to be in the first handful of rows to have a really good shot at victory, but incident can come all the time. So pressure mounting in the AF Corsa pits. They're looking to see where the improvement will come from.
71 Ferrari currently in 12th overall. David Vidales behind the wheel. So looks to see whether there's any improvement coming from the 71. So Vidales comes across the line, makes one position up to 11th. Looking also at the BMW, the 998, just to see where it is. It's got another lap.
Now, one car that we expected near the front, it's second in the championship, the number 99, Tracer Attempter Racing Audi with Ricardo Feller. He's only 29th in the session, 0.8 of a second down, and that puts them way down in 21st position on aggregate. That is a nightmare for them. Actually coming here, the Aston Martin number 7, which is sitting 5th in this session and 2nd on aggregate. That's what the championship leaders need to do. They come here with a 15-point advantage, but for Acker, Feller and Hess leading the chase just ahead of the Marco Mappelli, Pepper and Pereira Grasso Lamborghini. This is not good, but one of the Lamborghinis going very well was number 19, Baptiste Moulin, 10th in this session, but that car will be just outside the first 5 or 6 rows, actually down on row 7, but the clock keeps counting down. Got time for at least one further flying lap for the very few cars crossing the line just now.
We're missing one car, which is sadly the 88 Treasure Attempter Racing Audi, Patrese, Mancini and Ferrari. They've got an engine problem and they haven't got the time to replace it. So that's a car that hasn't run and will not be running this afternoon. Great disappointment to particularly that young driver lineup. Very effective driver lineup. Patrese, Mancini and Ferrari. They're not going to be racing this afternoon.
Well, Louis Pret has been 3rd fastest in this session, and he's just peeled into the pit lane. So that is going to be a very good aggregate for the 188. It's 7th on aggregate. So that has been an astonishing performance. McLaren's really coming good here at Monza, but the cars we're seeing now, this will be the completion when they get around the Parabolica of their session. A few others behind them will have, ahead of them will have been able to get one extra flying lap. The CSA Racing Audi, that's always been in the mix in class. It's down the order a little bit right here, right now, though, for Arthur Rougier, guy who puts the team together. So where are the changes coming at the top? I don't think anyone can topple the number 51 Ferrari in aggregate in advantage of 0.17 of second. Where
38
is Mr. Rossi going to go? Valentino dips the wheel off the circuit, but we've seen with Team WRT, they send their cars out late in the session. They always rise up, but right now the number 46 car desperately needs to get a good time. We had a big save that has put them 8th on aggregate at the moment, so any few fractions of a second that Valentino can find will move them up further.
He's picked up half a second in the first 2 sectors, so that's a significant amount of time when we were talking about 46 cars covered by just under a second, so this should see Valentino further improve.
The car fastest in this session now is the 163 Lamborghini. The checkered flag is out, so Valentino Rossi hasn't got far to go, but great time from Jordan Pepper has moved his car on aggregate up to 6th place, just behind the Porsche that Kevin Estra is pedaling at the moment. Right.
This car is all the way down, 34th, so it comes across, so an improvement, 7th in the session, but where does that put them overall? So the 46 will...
It's in 8th position overall. It didn't improve their time. It improved their time, but not their position on aggregate. Who is still to play? The checkered flag has fallen across the noses of half the field. The 998 Max Hesse-driven BMW, the other car from Rover Racing, the remaining car, because the sister car 98 was damaged by Maxime Houston. Was he slightly interrupted there? Charles Wirtz is also in a charge in his BMW, the number 32 car that currently sits 4th on aggregate.
So there is Wirtz making his way the Lesmo, so on the way onto the bank part of the circuit, coming up to the entry into the Ascari chicane. So puts the wheel over the curb, cocks it up in the air, now comes through the exit and carries all that momentum, all the speed, hoping to get a bit of a slipstream from the Italian entered BMW, which backs off and allows Wirtz to go unimpeded all the way down. Now staying on the left of the racetrack, right of screen, down on the brakes, gets the nose in now, release the brake pedal, get on the throttle and just drive your BMW as cleanly and without as much slip. Nicky Team, everybody very happy indeed, that provisional front position. So let's wait and see. So Wirtz stays in 4th.
Yeah, Nicky Team, that's an aggregate across all 3. So the number 7 Aston Martin crew, 2nd on aggregate, and there with the charge to finish, 4th on aggregate for the number 32 BMW from Team WRT. But Vincent Abril going out to congratulate the AF Corsa crew, because he and Alessio Rivera were first in their sessions. Teammate Alessandro Pierguidi pipped right at the end in his, but their aggregate time is the fastest by 0.172. But that Aston Martin crew never set the fastest time in any of the 3 sessions, but they're in every single one of them. That's why they're 2nd overall.
Took a bit of time to get 3 sessions complete, but we've got it, and it's an interesting grid with the Ferrari 51 on that pole position.
Well, once it's all combined, there is our grid for this afternoon's race. Alessio Rivera, Vincent Abril and Alessandro Pierguidi. 0.172 of a second. That's not a lot of a gap at a lot of circuits, but around here we normally deal in the thousands. Matteo Drudi and Marco Sorensen and Nicky Tim, 2nd for Aston Martin. 3rd, Lucas Auer, Daniel Murad and Maro Engel. Another excellent run from them, just 0.008 of a second further behind. A similar margin back to 4th. Dries Van Toor, Sheldon Van der Linde and Charles Wirtz, who delivered right at the end for their Team WRT BMW. Ayhancan Guven, Dorian Boccolacci and Revin Kevin, 5th in their Porsche for Schumacher CLRT. Fastest in the Gold Cup class. Come to you Racing, a great run for them. In the Silver Cup, it was Artem Petrov, Matteo Lachena and Baptiste Moulin had a really good run in that final session, their Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. But overall fastest, it was Rivera, Abril and Pierguidi. First and 2nd across each of their 3 sessions. The job was done. That's the first job, John. The second job is a 3-hour race this afternoon. And they're posing for the cameras by the Rover Motor Oil pole position support pillar. And the support really came from the AF Corsa team, understanding the tyres, working through the practice and pre-qualifying sessions, John, to understand what it took to get a fast lap around Monza.
Well, that was a part of the contribution, climbing all over the curves into the first chicane here at Monza. And just following behind, you can see the Rotronic Porsche. So you have sometimes to do what you got to do to get a lap time, and all 3 drivers, Rivera, Avril and now Alessandro Pierguidi, have delivered for AF Corsa and for Ferrari here at Monza. And, well, the spiritual home of Ferrari here in Italy.
If you shout Ale, you get 2 of them to look. Alessandro and Alessio both look. But let's go out and hear with the crew of the number 51 car, the Ferrari that has set pole position.
Congratulations, gents. You've absolutely done the job there. A perfect qualifying session.
Yeah, it's been great. Actually, I think we really wanted this at home for sure. And also the point is important for our championship. And so we push as max. We have been lucky with the traffic in the quali, because in this temperature with a lot of cars we have, it's always been matter of being quite a bit lucky with the traffic. We have been quite clean qualifying, and we are here. The pack is always very tight, so will be a very big fight for the race, but much better than start last like in Nürburgring.
Absolutely, it doesn't get better than that. And the first celebration of the weekend, of course, is the Rover pole position trophy. Gretz is standing by to present you with that one.
So there we are, the job done, and that was an astonishingly good session. The hardest one of all, of course, was the second qualifying session, John, that got interrupted and was left with 3 minutes 46 seconds on the clock. It was about working the traffic, but again, they clearly have found a great setup for the 51AF Corsa Ferrari on this resurfaced circuit. So let's take a look at the highlights, how it all unfolded. 52 cars going out on the track to find pace, but also the space to deliver. Walkenhorst Motorsport really good across the 3 sessions, and David Pittard set the ball rolling for them. And some great charges from Team WRT with the number 32 BMW. They go out late in sessions and they deliver. But at the end of the first qualifying session, Alessio Rivera took top position for the number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. Would Aston Martin work their way to the front? Well, they were quick in all the sessions, the 007 car. Schumacher CLRT looking really, really handy with their number 22 Porsche, with the new boy this weekend, Kevin Estre, part of the show. The second session came to a conclusion, or an interruption, when Maxime Houston looped around the Rover Racing BMW. And up to the top came Vincent Abril. Then they had to do it all in the final session as well. Fastest in session 1, session 2, and then suddenly some really quick laps from the 163 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. Set the fastest time in the final qualifying session. But the aggregate across all 3, as other drivers were making a real charge, belonged to the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. They took pole position. Do come back and join us for the race. 3 hours of phenomenal action here at Monza.